Hello, what's up, guys? Let me just set up my screen real. Okay, this is okay. Hello, what's up, guys? Micah Irumaka here. So today I'm going to be explaining the the learning management API that I built out. This is an LMS. So I'll not really call myself like. But let me just jump into the code. Minimize this. So where do we start from? So before I jump into walking you through the code, I want to start by saying that when it comes to like designing backend systems, you can I believe there are different ways to design, but one of the major ways, let's say beginners or most people use to like design or build out their backend is using what they call the MVC. So the MVC is basically, it stands for model, view, and controller. The model it has to do with the interaction with database, the creation of the tables and the creation of the database and all that stuff. While the controllers is like the middleman between the views, what you see in the front end, and on the back end. So let me say I'm building out an application right now, and then I don't want to like have like a front end that is built using React and all that stuff. So my views basically handle the I can actually build out the front end on my back end. I can use template engines like EJS and the rest of POG and the rest of them to build it out. So the models is what have to do with like the creation of database, the tables and all that stuff, while the controller is the middleman, and then the views is what you see at the front end. When it comes to like building out your back end, the app.js you're seeing here is like the engine room of the application of the back end. This is what starts the server. This is what initializes the database, and where you put your routes and all that stuff. Your endpoint, your route is your endpoint. And then the package.json it has to do with like your dependencies and some other stuff. So we're not really going to jump into that. We're just going to we'll start from the models, because the models, like I said, it has to do with the database, and the models, like building this out, I learned that it's very, very important to map out your database. So I think for us to really understand this code base, it's necessary we start from the scratch, from the ground to the top, which is from the database. So in the model or in the database, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 models. The author model, the book model, the borrow records models, the index.js, and the row.js, and the users.js. The index.js is like what initializes the database, what creates the database, what creates the table and all that stuff. So looking at the model, the author model, which is the table, this is what actually handles the table. Sorry, I mentioned that in the index, but this individual models, the author, the books and all that, is what handles like the individual tables in the database. So this author model, as you can see here, I'm using Sequelize. Sequelize is like an ORM, an object relational mapping tool. So let me say you're looking at building out your database, and then your models and other stuff, your tables, and you don't want to like make use of MySQL. I'm using MySQL of my database here, and you don't want to go through the whole hassle of like writing queries and all that stuff. You can use a tool like Sequelize to like handle all the queries. Like it's just like a framework for database systems like Postgres, MySQL and the rest of them. So it makes things much more faster and easier to do. Right. So right here I extract the model and data types from Sequelize, and then here I initialize it. Here that says author init. This is where I initialize the table, and then all these things you're seeing here, the ID, the name, the bio, the birth date, these are basically like the different columns that are going to be in the database. You have the ID, and the ID has a type of integer. It's going to be a number, and then this is going to be the primary key. The primary key basically means that the ID is going to be like the major way for you to use and identify the most of the details that will be in this table. And then the name, you have the bio. So these are some of the details I will need for the author. So the author has an ID, it has a name. Mike Irumaka can be the name, your name can be the name. Then I have a bio and then my date of birth. Then you now come here, you have the book.js. So this is a learning management system basically for books and then authors and all that stuff. You can come and borrow book, you can return the book. So there's a need for a book model. So the book model has to do with what handles all the books that be created by the author. So here you can see I do the same thing I did in my author model. I initialize it in the books. The book is going to have an ID, an ISBN, a title, the date was published, and then the author ID, and then the status, and then Now one thing to take note of is here that says association. Books and authors are related. So for a book to be created, it needs to have an author, the person that wrote the book, right? And this is where I try to create the association between the two of them. This place that says books dot belongs to the model author, right? Then the foreign key that I use to identify the author that wrote the book is this author._id. So let me say I create a book, Mike Irumaka. I create a book. In the book database, there's going to be a place that says author ID. So let me say in my author table, I have the ID of 1. In the books table, there's going to be an author ID of 1, meaning that is in the author model, the person that has the ID of 1 is the person that wrote this book. So you're going to use the ID to identify the person that actually wrote the book. I hope that makes sense. So these are basically the details that the book model has. And then you have the borrow record. So this borrow record is a table that will track all the books that you are borrowed, all the whole books that you are borrowed. So that's what this borrow records table is going to do for me. And it has the ID of integer, the person that borrowed the book, the user ID, the book ID, the day it was borrowed, and then the day is going to be due at. So these are the details that this borrow record is going to keep track of. And then, like I said, this index.js is like the engine room. And when I was trying to build out this database, I really faced issues with the initialization of SQLize. I really faced a lot of issues, and I'm going to try to explain this code to you so that ChatGPT helped me a lot with this particular part of the code. And my goal of this video is to, if I'm able to explain it to you watching, it means that probably I understood it, and I'm actually trying to reinforce the knowledge to myself so that I understand some of the things ChatGPT helped me, and not just be someone that's debunks my code with ChatGPT without really understanding. I know I might face some issues, but let me just try to see if I can explain it. So here I initialize the database. This is a function for initializing the database. So you can see this is an asynchronous JavaScript function. So an asynchronous JavaScript function is a function that goes individually. It runs asynchronously. I hope that makes sense. It runs step by step. I hope I explained that properly. And here you're seeing await. Since it's running step by step, let me say I did not use this await in this creation of the database. The code could, this database can be created, and just the code can skip it and jump into the next line of code, and I might end up not having a database that is created and a code that skips the creation of database. And so I want a situation where before the code jumps into the next line of code, it waits for this table to be created and then jumps into the next line. So that's what this await helps me to do. So I create the database connection here, and then I now wait again and say, okay, if the database does not exist, connect to my config file. My config file basically has the configuration of my database. It's a JSON file that has the password and some other stuff. I don't really want to go there because of some of the details that are there. So this is the place I create the database, and here that says initialize database SQLize. This is where I now create the connection between SQLize and the database. This is where I do just that. Now the place I really had issues was in this code was this FX part. I did not really understand this code, so even right now I don't really understand what's happening, so I'm not really going to jump into it. What I plan to do on this video is to ask ChatGPT to explain it to me so we can understand it together, and I can see if I can explain what ChatGPT explains to me, just so that I can see if I understood the code. But I really found it difficult to use SQLize. So I now export the initialize, equalize, and then the DP here. This is where I do the exporting. Then the row.js has to do with different rules. So I implemented row-based access control in the API, meaning for you to access some certain endpoints, you need to have like certain rules in the backend. If it's either you're an admin, you're a member, or a librarian. So if you're an admin, you can perform some kind of task. If you're a member, you can do some kind of things. If you are a librarian, you can do some kind of things in the system, right? So you can see here I have an ID, I have a name, and then the row, the row name. So this is not the place I actually did the row integration. I believe I did it in the, let me check, I think I did the row stuff. This is not where I did. I think I did it in the app.js, the engine room. This is where I did the synchronization. This is where I did the creation of the row, the different rows. So I created this is where this particular place an array was created with the different rows, the admin, the librarian, the member, and then I created a for loop that a for that basically goes through the different names that are stored in the array, and then checks if it's existing. If it's not existing, then it creates that row for me. So I actually had issues with this particular code, and then ChatGPT also helped me with this particular line because I was really having issues here. But ChatGPT really helped me, try to solve this. Why I understood what happened here. So yeah. So this is what helped me create the different rows in the model. And then you have the user.js. This is handles the users that will be created. When a user is created, these are the different details the user is going to have. So this is my models for you. Now jumping into the different endpoints. So the endpoints is the routes, different routes on the website. And as you can see, I have the login route, the auth.js, which handles like login and sign up. And here on the auth.js, you have the stroke login, and then it tells me check, okay, because I implemented Express Validator. Express Validator is like an npm or a package in npm that helps you perform some kind of validation on your application. So for example, now let me say you're building like a login or a sign up endpoint, and then you want a situation where when the person puts in their details, their password, the tool will help you check if what they put in that form is an actual email or a password. So that's what Express Validator helps you with. And you can see here I implemented validation here on the endpoint, and I check if it's an email, and I check if it's a password. Now if they did not put in here that says is length, if the password they put in is not a minimum of 5 words, it now throws this error, password must be at least 5 characters. And then this is where the controller, this login you're seeing here is my controller. The controller is now what handles the details that are put in the form, and then like is the middleman that handles what was put in the form, and then the back end. So let me show you my login controller. So this is my controller here. The controller is in the auth. So let's go to the login. So here is that login you're seeing here. This is the login controller, and as you can see here, errors. So this errors variable basically pulls out the error. Let me say the person puts in a password that is less than 5. So this validation request, the error is sent to the request, is in the request, and then I pull it out from the request and store it here. And then I now come here and see if the errors is not empty. So it means if there's an error through this response, that stuff you're seeing there is going to now throw this error for me with the status of 400, and then this status error, and then it throws this error that has an array, right? And then if there is no error, it now jumps into the next line of code, which is this try and catch function. But here I pull out the email and the password from the request.body, and then I come here and say I now come here and check if the email actually exists in the backend in database. Say await.db.user.find1. So this is like an inbuilt function in SQLize that is used to like find stuff in the database. So I say where email. So if this email exists, it's going to pull it out and store it in the user. And then if it does not exist, if not, then it returns this error of 404, user not found. And then this is the same thing I did for my password, and I use Bcrypt. Bcrypt is like an npm package for like hashing your password, so that if somebody logs into your database and they see the password, but the password they are seeing there is not like your actual password. What they are seeing there is like a hashed password. It's used to like protect users' details in the database. And here I implement JWT. So once the user has signed up or logged in, this is the login. So once the user has logged in, I create like a JWT token for that user. This is what handles that for me, and it's sent as a header, right? And this is very, very crucial for authorization. And here expires. This token is going to expire in 1 hour. So every 1 hour, this token is going to be expired. And then this is a sign up for new users. This is a sign up. It's almost the same kind of implementation for login, but a little bit different, right? Now I want to talk about the authorization, the role-based access control, and I implemented that in my books controller. Yes, let's go to the books controller. And I implemented that in my books endpoint. So this is the books endpoint. So let me explain this endpoint, the delete endpoint. So this delete endpoint, when you try to visit the books, when you try to delete a book from the website or from the database, from the endpoint, or let me say from the website, first, before you can be able to do just that, you need to verify that you have the right to be able to like perform that kind of action you want to perform on the website. And that's why you see this verified token. First of all, it verifies that you are signed in or signed up, that kind of thing. After verifying you are signed in, then it now checks if you are signed in now, do you have the right to be able to like perform this action you want to perform. So that's why you see these two functions, verified token function, and then you see this place that says authorization rule. So let me go back to I created a middleware for just this. Let me open it. The auth middleware. And this is the different functions that handle it. So here is the place I pull out the token from the headers, and I split it and I pull out the first header and I save it in the token, and then I check, okay, do you have access to visit this particular endpoint? Are you logged in? If you don't have a token, then access denied. There is no token, so you don't have access to like visit these particular endpoints on the website. And then here that has the authorization rule function. So this rule you're seeing here, it receives a parameter that is going to be passed when the function is called on the endpoint, and then it comes here and says if the rule does not include like this rule parameter, then return this error forbidding. You do not have access to perform this kind of action, or you do not have access to visit this particular endpoint. So as you can see here, let me go to the database so you can understand properly. So you can see the ID here is 1 for the admin. So if you're an admin, you have an ID of 1. If you are a librarian, you have an ID of 2, and if you're a member, you have an ID of 3. So when you come back to the database, to the backend, go to the bureau record, sorry, to the books control. You can see that for you to be able to delete a book, you need to have this parameter 1. So you need to have an ID of 1. So it means the person that can only perform a delete on this website needs to be an admin. The person needs to be an admin. So the person needs to have this ID of 1 here for you to be able to perform that particular action. So I put it in. I put in the 1 as a parameter in the function, and then when the function is written, you can see this function now receive that 1 parameter, and then you now say if row does not include, like if the one does not match the one that was passed in the JWT, in the request, like the JWT, if they are not the same thing, then it means you don't really have the necessary rights to perform the kind of action you want to perform. And then I now call my next to jump into the next middleware, right? So if this next is not called, I'll not be able to access this next middleware books controller dot delete. I'll not be able to like access the next middleware if this next is not called. So it means, okay, if this is false, like if this is false, then okay, you can now jump into the next middleware. You can now jump into the next middleware, which is this. Okay, you can now delete the book because you have access, right? So I hope that makes sense. So that's my middleware for you, and that's my delete endpoint for you. So there are a whole lot of stuff that are written that I cannot really go through because it made the video very long. But like I said, the goal of this video is to basically reinforce the knowledge that I learned. So I'm trying to build this LMS and see if I can actually explain it in a way that the average man can maybe understand. I hope so. But yeah, I think I understood the code I wrote. I understood what I wrote. I understood how the code works. But the only issue I had was, like I said, in the implementation of serialize, and I think it's now time we ask ChatGPT to explain it to us, and then I try to explain it to see if I really understand what's happening. And then next time I try to implement it by myself. So let's head over to the model, the index.js. So let's copy the whole code here, put ChatGPT, and then carry this over here. So this is okay, so this is the place I received a lot of help from ChatGPT. Let me just come over here. Oh, this is actually recording. So guys, this is actually the second time I'm recording this video. I recorded it the first time and then I spoke for 30 minutes and it was muted. I have to shoot it again. Okay, perfect. So this is my model, my index model. Code a little bit lost. Basically, I really have found issues in this code implementing this. What is happening here in the part below? Break it down to the barest minimum. Barest minimum, and if possible, visualize the code for me. Code box for me to understand. So this is the part I found a little bit confused. I know that FS is like for file system, and I think this is just a way for it to interact with the models. Well, let me just see what ChatGPT will say. Let's see what ChatGPT will say. Let's see. I was talking about lead code. Let's see. This thing works. It's one of the best ways to learn is to reinforce what to learn. So that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know why this thing is hanging. By the way, I'm going to leave like my GitHub repo in the description just in case you want to check out the code. Check out my GitHub. Let me see. Okay. So that they can easily access. Okay. Let's break it down line by line. fx, this line, so yeah, which allows you to interact with files. Okay, so it reads all the files. So what it's saying now is that this particular line reads all the files in my current directory. Let me see. Yes, the models folder. Yeah, okay, yeah, there. The name refers to the absolute path here. So it returns a list of files in your models, like, okay, then it now filters it. Okay, let me see. Filters out unnecessary files. Okay, so this line excludes hidden files, like, okay, it excludes it in. Okay, so if you, okay, it makes sense. So this part slide is like, to like remove some parts of the code, so you look for the ones that are DS. Yeah, I understand. So it excludes the DS, the file. Okay, this is just for filtering. So it filters a list of files to only include model files. Okay, this part loops through each file. Okay, model require part of the file name. Sequelize is not that part. To model. Okay, this combine is actually part name and the name to create the full part dot join. Let me see. Part dot join. Let me see. Okay, for example. Okay, part dot join. This combines directly their name and the file name to create a full path to the model. So if the file name is project or models and the file is okay, that makes sense. Okay, require. Okay. I think I understand what's happening here. Okay. So the model, so db model.name. Okay, for either that a for was used, that makes sense. Okay, I think I understand the code. Very well, any need for that associate. I think I understand what's happening here. So the fx is used to read file system, and then this read is used with this filter of their name is used to like access the current directory of the file, if I'm correct, and then dot filter. So what this reader does is to return the files in the current directory I mean to say, and then here I try to like do some filtering of let me see if your index of, I think I've forgotten now. Okay, 0 and okay, so here it filters out the hidden files, and then the env, because .env is where like some special or case or sensitive data are stored, so you don't want it to be available to the public, and you don't want your code here to be able to access that file, right? So this does that filtering for you, and then this file not equal to base name also does like a filtering for you of like the current. You don't want it to access, like you don't want to be able to access the current file you are on. So that's what this base name does. And then you also don't want it to access the text.js file, even though I don't even have that file in this directory, right? So once it has done the filtering, the for each now goes through all the whole files there and then tries to like combine them. This part dot join tries to like combine the directory, and then SQLize. This is like different data types that are in SQLize. You want to get access to it. I did not really check what this part does. I don't know if you covered it. Let me see what's happening here. Okay, out of these parts, I think what I'm thinking is trying to do here is in a different files. I think he's trying to access SQLize and then a different SQLize data types. Let me be sure. That's what I believe is happening here. That's what I think is happening there. Let's see. Well, let me just proceed. And then this particular part is used to access the different model names. After it has like gone through each of them, I now try to like access the different models using db.model name, right? I started from the model here, and so for each key, because it's going to be an object, right? It's going to be an object. So for each keys, I now try to like create an association. This code has to handles the association using the object keys, and then I now do db.SQLize. I think this is another place I was trying to understand what was happening. This place again. Let me see. Let me see if it's possible. Let me see first. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is the connection instance you created earlier, 100%. Yeah. So what about this part? What about here? db.SQLize. Now this is the connection instance, but let me just see. And then I initialize, SQLize, and I export the database. I think I have pretty much an idea of what's happening. Not perfect, but I know with consistency I'll be able to really understand what's happening. Because I build out more projects. I think I'll be able to understand it. I know what I think. Let me see. Then let's just access SQLize core features and data types from anywhere in the app. Which is beautiful. Let me see if I understood what's happening. So this part of your code is pretty straightforward, but let's break it down step by step. Is adding the SQLize instance to your DB object. Remember, DB is an object where you're storing your models. Yeah, by doing this, making sure that SQLize connection is and the SQLize connection instance is part of the DB, so you can access that later. Okay. So I think from Okay. Okay, I think I understand. I think I understand. So I think this one from ChatGPT's explanation, this one connects to the SQLite instance which I created earlier on. So I'm trying to so db.SQLite connects to the SQLite instance which I created earlier on, and then this one now connects to this SQLite which I imported here. This SQLite I imported here, it connects to it. Let me see. Okay, so db.SQLite connects to, let me see. So this connects to the toolbox, like to SQLite which I imported, and then this connects to the instance which I called earlier on, and then it now returns it. I think I'm still a little bit lost with this part, but let's just see. Try to still understand it. Maybe the next time I'm making a video talking about, because I'm here to like build out the search, and then I'm here to build out the search. I'm here to build out the feature testing, and then the rate limiting. And I hope by then when I'm done, I'll be able to like properly explain this. But I hope I've been able to like explain the video or the code or my code to an extent, and hopefully it makes sense to anybody watching it. I'll leave a link to my GitHub or to this code in the description, and yeah, see you in the next one.